مجمع الأندلس التعليمي، تعلم عصري ملهم بهوية وطنية وقيم إسلامية.
Hello, this is me, Mr. Osama Abdul Rauf, introducing Unit 2, Lesson 6, Writing. As we always did, let's start by checking homework. Open your workbooks, page 20, to check exercise A. Exercise A. The answers are as follows. Number 1. I started learning Arabic a year ago. Here you're requested to use been in the sentence, to rewrite the sentence using been. Of course, we'll use the present perfect continuous. Why? Because it consists of verb to have plus been plus verb plus ing. I mean, it has been in its form, right? The answer will be, I have been learning Arabic for a year. Why for here? Because we use for to express time span, the length of a period. Okay, let's move to question number 2. Jack went to London on Tuesday and he's still there. This means that he hasn't come back yet. So the answer will be, Jack has gone to London since Tuesday. Why have we used since here? Because the starting point is there, which is Tuesday. So the answer is, Jack has gone to London, not has been to London, because has been to London means he went to London and came back. Question number 3. Amanda has never read such an interesting book. He wants you here to use ever. Of course, ever is a key word of the present perfect. So the answer is, it's the most interesting book Amanda has ever read. Question number 4. When did you start taking driving lessons? We need to use have. Yes, true. How long have you been taking driving lessons? The last question, number 5. It's been a long time since Larry last ate sushi. 4. We're going to talk about a time span, right? Larry, the answer is, Larry hasn't eaten sushi for a long time. I hope you all did well in this exercise because it's very common in exams, and I think my good students are the best. Now let's move to our lesson for today. Our lesson for today will be on both your student books, page 27, and your workbooks, page 20. And as usual, let's start by reading the objectives. At the end of the period, students should be able to 1. Recognize the purpose of writing a description of a process using a diagram. Number 2. Follow the steps of writing a description of a process out of a diagram. 3. Correctly write a description of a process using a diagram. Let's start. I have prepared a video for you to watch about the IELTS writing, task 1. Watch and answer these questions. Question number 1, what's the video about? Question number 2, are you familiar with the content of the video? Number 3, do you think the video is important? Why or why not? Watch the video. I think the video is helpful and the questions are easy to answer. Let's answer the questions. Question 1, what's the video about? I think one of your answers could be as follows. The video is about the IELTS. Writing task 1. Question 2, are you familiar with the content of the video? An answer could be, yes, I know about the IELTS. It's important to apply in some majors in the university. Question 3, do you think the video is important? Why? Why not? An answer could be, yes, I believe it's important as it introduces one of the writing tasks in the IELTS. Now let's start our lesson. Open your student books, page 27, to do exercises A, B, C, and D. Student book exercise A. Look at the image below. What's the purpose of the diagram? Have a look at the diagram. It has a title, right? Scientific method. The diagram introduces the stages involved in the scientific method. The first stage is ask a scientific question, gather information, conduct an experiment to prove theory, analyze data or data, could be pronounced the two ways, and finally report results. Look at the pictures under the titles or the steps. Someone is thinking, he's asking himself a question, then he gathers information to create a hypothesis. After that, he does an experiment, then reach some results, and then repeats the experiment to confirm results, to revise the theory, and then analyze data, and finally draw the conclusions. So what do you think the diagram introduces? I'll give you some time to think and give me only one sentence. Go on. All right. Yes, an answer could be, the diagram describes or depicts the stages involved in the scientific method. True. Now let's move to exercise B. Exercise B. Below is a description of the process shown in the diagram. Go through the description and underline the words or phrases that appear in the diagram. Then answer the questions that follow. So you're kindly requested to pause the video, underline each word or phrase that appears in the diagram. Go on. Here are the answers. An arrow will appear first to show the word or the phrase, and then each word or phrase is going to be underlined for you. First one, scientific method. Where is it in the text? Yes, in the first line. Second word or second phrase, ask a scientific question. Again, yes, it's in the second line. Gather information. Yes, third line. Can you see it? Create hypothesis. Yes, again in the third line. Observe results. Yes, the fifth line. Revise theory. Also in the fifth line. Conduct an experiment to prove theory. In the fifth line too. Analyze data. Yes, sixth line. Repeat. Yes, in the seventh line. Confirm. The same line, seventh. Draw conclusion. Yes, again in the seventh line. And finally, report results, report results in the 7th line. Yes. Now let's move to part 2 of exercise B, which includes 2 questions. Question number 1, what do you notice about how the writer uses the information? Number 2, how is the writer's description of the process different from the diagram? In order to help you, here are the diagram and the description. Pause the video. Set yourself 2 minutes to answer the 2 questions. Have a go. Welcome back. Here are the answers. For question number 1, what do you notice about how the writer uses information? An answer could be, all stages are mentioned. Vocabulary is often lifted from the diagram. Some words and phrases are rephrased. Elaboration is provided. What about question number 2? How is the writer's description of the process different from the diagram? An answer could be, the writer's description is different because it uses full sentences and linking words to present the information rather than images and phrases. The writer also rephrases some words and elaborates on the diagram. So, when you're going to write, you need to rephrase what you understand. Now let's move to exercise C. Exercise C. Read the description again and take the statements that apply to it. Again, here is the description, and you have 5 minutes to read it and take each sentence or each phrase that apply to the description. Go on. Here are the statements to be ticked because they apply to the description. 3. Yes. 4. 5. 7. 8. 10. Great job, dear students. Now let's move to exercise D. In exercise D, you're asked to write your own description of learning process. Actually, you need to have a careful look at the diagram and you have to interpret it. And of course, there are some tips for you. Let's read them together. When describing a process, use formal language. 2. Use vocabulary from the diagram. 3. Rephrase some words from the diagram and elaborate. 4. Use linking words and phrases. Of course, formal linking words. Number 5. Follow the progression of the diagram. Follow the steps. Do not jump over them. And finally, use the present simple and the passive voice. Why? Because you should be writing formally. Here is another tip from me. You can use the sample in exercise C for help and guidance. I mean, you can apply what you read here to your own writing. This time, please pause the video for about 10 to 15 minutes to write your own description of this process, learning process, and then play the video to see a sample answer to compare it to yours. Good luck. I hope it was an easy task for you. Now listen and read my sample answer. Look at the diagram and try to interpret it. Learning process, environmental input. Yes, that's the first step The first thing you are going to write about is environmental input. How can you gather information here? You use your senses to pick up input. Of course, we all know the senses. After that, you should be attentive, because if you are attentive, the input is stored in short-term memory, and if practiced and revised, it would be stored in long-term memory, and then you are learning. Read my sample answer. The diagram shows the different steps involved in the learning process. First, input, in the form of images, sounds, smells, tastes, and feelings. These are the senses. It's received from the environment by the senses. This information is then processed by the brain, which identifies it or makes sense of it. If the information is attended to, it's stored for a short period of time in short-term memory. If, however, no attention is paid to it, it's lost from memory. Information that's stored in short-term memory may be remembered for a long period of time if it is rehearsed. This is because when we make an effort to learn something, the information is stored in long-term memory. It is thus clearly evident that effort, revision, and practice play a very important role in our ability to remember information. Please compare this answer to your answer, and after that move to your workbooks. Open your workbooks on page 20. Yes, your homework for today will be exercise A, page 20 on your workbook. Have a look at it. I hope today's video was easy and you benefited from it. Till we meet again, goodbye and thank you.